You just got to pretend you're talking to a customer. Just talk to your people, or talk about what matters, and find things you can talk about that you're comfortable about talking about. It might not be your pet food. It might be, hey, let's talk about my kayak today. Something you really know well that you can get passionate about, and just practice doing that for a while before you go live on Facebook.
Welcome to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. I'm Tori Mystic. As a dog mom lifestyle expert, blogger, and business owner, I love talking to other women in the pet industry and sharing their advice with you every week. Sit, stay, and listen to the latest episode. I thought I was really prepared for today's interview, but as soon as my guest, Pattie Zeller, started telling me how she got started in the pet industry, I was so surprised. What she shares is such a cool story that perfectly illustrates a concept that I've been learning about recently that helps you find out what you should do with your life based on the intersection of passion, talent, and opportunity. Pattie found that by learning how to communicate with animals and discovering that there was a need in her community for resources on natural pet care. Pattie has a background in marketing, so it's no wonder that she knows how to make a name for herself, her business, and local animal rescues through videos, especially her weekly live Facebook show that has a reach of 350,000 viewers. She shares a ton of great video topic ideas in our conversation. Coming up with eye-catching marketing strategies is a lot easier when you have the right tools. I put all of the wonderful resources that my guests tell me about in the Wear, Wag, Repeat resource guide. It's a spreadsheet with over 150 tools, apps, educational resources, and more, and you can download it for free at wearwagrepeat.com/guide. There's a bunch of tools in there that can help you do live streaming videos on Facebook, Instagram, or your own website. Just go over to wearwagrepeat.com/guide and you can get the entire resource guide for free. Pattie Zeller is the founder and owner of Animal Connection, an award-winning all-natural store for pets located in Charlottesville, Virginia, now celebrating 18 years in business. Pattie has received a ton of awards, including America's Coolest Pet Store and Retailer of the Year Best Social Media Marketing. She's also the founder of Dog Fest Charlottesville, an event that brought together over 4,000 attendees, 38 booths, 14 rescue groups, 110 dogs in the costume contest, and a microbrew collaboration to raise money for local pet rescues. Pattie has a passion for local businesses and also co-hosts a weekly live Facebook show and podcast called What's Barking Local that reviews pet products and interviews leaders and nonprofits making a difference in the lives of pets. When she's not saving the lives of Virginia's dogs and cats, Pattie can be found paddling Blue Ridge Mountain rivers or the Chesapeake Bay, clay shooting, fly fishing, or enjoying Montana ranch time chasing cattle on her big gray horse, Ike. Hey, Pattie.
Hey, what's going on?
How are
What
you
isn't
today?
going on?
I know. We're in the midst of Corona craziness as we record this.
If it's not one kind of crazy, it's another, so.
Right. I mean, we're used to it as small business owners. It's always a little bit crazy. This is just a different spin on it.
Right. It's called being flexible.
Yes. Yeah, I know that is the key. So it's kind of weird to jump into my normal podcasting questions considering there's so much going on, but I'm just going to do it anyhow.
Let's be normal just for a moment.
So why don't you tell us, you've been in the pet industry for a long time, but how did you get started? Was there a certain pet that inspired you to go down this path?
Well, actually, yes and no. See, I had owned an advertising agency for almost 20 years in North Carolina, Chicago, and then moved to Virginia, and I was still working on ad clients. And at that same time, I was also getting back into horses and and had my dogs and cats and things with me on a small farm. And there was this one horse that I was having trouble with, and I just really couldn't ride. And I started hearing about animal communicators and what they were all about, and I got the help of one. And pretty much the horse said to me, "If you would sit still and shut up, I will teach you how to ride." And that kind of got my attention. And this animal communicator was great, and she could confirm things that I had no idea that she could even do. And so I started taking lessons with her, and I took her classes, and then I became uh, skilled at doing the telepathic animal communication. And the more I was doing this, I was listening to my own animals. Um, Two of them had problems with cancer, and then the third one came down with cancer. And I was getting a lot of free food from my brother, who worked for a pretty big national brand that I don't name and I'm not going to sell ever. But I started putting some things together and reading about better pet food and raw food. And pretty much my dog looked at me and said, Blondie, why don't you use your advertising and marketing skills and teach people that there's a better way to feed their dogs? And you need to start it with me right now. And so I kind of listened to my dog and walked in and told my husband, I said, "I'm so sorry. I know you're getting ready to retire, but I'm stopping my advertising business and we're opening a retail store." That's okay, right?
The dog told me to do it. I have to do it.
Exactly. It was pretty much like that. And so I started buying the raw food and filling up freezers in my garage. And then I found a consortium of people that were involved in agility dog showing that were also doing that, to my surprise. And so I became the drop-off point for 500 pounds of dog food every week from a local distributor. And very quickly, within a couple of months, it became clear to me that I should really open a store. And that's how all the craziness started.
What an amazing story. And so now I'm kind of putting the pieces together, but your business is called Animal Connection. And I guess that kind of ties on the, the kind of telepathic connection that you have with animals.
It does. And it also inspired me because, if I was going to do this, I wanted it to be like an epicenter of all things pet. Like if you wanted to know where to find a holistic vet or a Reiki master or an animal communicator or, whatever your pet's needs were, if you needed to learn how to do herbs or flower essences, I wanted to be the source where you could get so much more than just buying a bag of dog food. I really wanted to create a kind of community where, we know the rescue groups, we know who's doing what in the area, and just really make it, as I said, a connection and a community of pet lovers and things that they need in our area.
I think that's so wonderful. And I think that for people who are listening, something I want to point out is that, like, you were serving as kind of the connection, even if maybe you couldn't offer a certain knowledge or skill that people needed, you were happy to connect people. And that's kind of how your business
Exactly.
thrived,
I mean, there's no way any of us could do it all, but the fact that we knew a lot of information, we know what we know. That seemed to be a real service that was missing, especially with the big box stores that were established already in our town.
Yeah, I know. The problem with going into those stores is a lot of times the people working there, they don't know anything about the products on the shelves. So having a local shop where people are really knowledgeable and you can go in and say, "Oh, my dog's like kind of itchy and I don't know what to do," and they actually have real recommendations. It's such a great asset.
Right. I mean, it even got to be a kind of a crazy step further because with the animal communication work, I also learned kinesiology. I think some people call it muscle testing. I actually learned from a dowser. I mean, a good old fashioned dowser using pendulums. So imagine what people thought when they came into my store and say, "Well, I don't know the right thing for your dog, but my crystal does."
And you're in the middle of Virginia. What is the climate? Are people in Virginia sort of receptive to all of this?
It's a university town where we are, so there were surprisingly a lot of people that were kind of open to it. But a lot of times I would have to go into the back room and go, "Okay, let me write down some choices. Let me swing this pendulum and see what we can find out," and then go back and say, "I thought about it, and let's do this." Kind of on the sly.
It sounds like the Wizard of Oz. You were like behind the curtain.
I know, but it's funny because the vets I would take my dog into the vet, And I wanted to have some acupuncture on him, for maybe his hyperthyroid or
Mm-hmm.
whatever was going on. And yeah, I see them working over him and looking with their hands, and I'd say, so what do you think? What does he need? And they look at me and go, well, you're the animal communicator. You tell us. And so I would go and I would just say, things like T4, L3. And they look at me like, how do you know that? And I was like, my dog just told me. I said, I have no idea what it means, but this is what he told me. What do we want to do with it? And they just
That's
shake their heads and go
amazing.
on. It's not really so amazing. This animal communication thing, if you can sit still and be quiet for 15 minutes, I can teach anybody how to do it. It's really that simple, just being in tune and being able to filter out what's a good message and what is your imagination.
Huh. That's so interesting. I always think about, I always try to, I say live a dog inspired life. And I look to my dogs a lot for guidance of, how to do things. Even like they drink so much water. And when they start drinking water, I'm like, oh, I should have a glass of water.
There you go.
Because they know, like they're more in tune with their bodies, I think, than we are.
They really are.
Um, yeah, so that's really interesting, and they know how to live in the moment, and we don't really know how to do that. So
Well, I think people are
there's,
learning how to do that a little bit more now.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, even though this is so interesting, but I want to talk about your Facebook show, the live show that you do every week. It's called What's Barking Local, and tell us a little bit about the format of that, why you decided to start doing a live show.
Well, uh, I was in. I was inspired by Jerry Miller of VMV Brands, who has a daily show called I Love Seville. And what he does is try to bring together people that are making a difference in the community, whether it's with their business or giving back to the community. There are always musicians on Friday. And he asked me to come on and tell my story about Animal Connection. And it was so well received. He had me to come back and do three subsequent shows. It was about how I got started, and then how we do the store, and then how we do things in the community. It turned out to be a full series. And he looked at me and goes, you really ought to have your own show. I mean, you like doing this. It's fun. So his show is basically, it's just like two people sitting at a bar having a chat, which I am pretty good at. so we decided on a Wednesday afternoon, and my focus was people in the pet community that are making a difference. So some weeks it's a supplier, so we're going to talk about raw food, or some weeks it might be someone from a rescue group. It's event heavy, it's cause heavy. We might have like a series of it might be the canine police. Heck, before Dogfest, we decided to do a microbrew in partnership with a local brewery, and they called it Big Dog Blondale, and the proceeds from the sales of that, my phone's going to ring. That's okay. We decided to give the proceeds from that to the rescue groups in Charlottesville. So, here we are drinking beer on the show and having fun. And gosh, at Christmas time, I got some of my favorite local band members in, and we all sang Christmas carols. Got some people that had been on previous shows. It can be anything. When I was on vacation and my husband sadly stayed at home, he took over the show and started talking about kayaking with dogs. It can be anything, but it's a lot of fun. It's interactive. People call in, they can comment while we're in the show and ask questions, and they can really get involved in the fun.
And has this show, do you have any stories about how it's impacted your business or brought customers into your store or anything like that?
Well, it's funny because, I've never been a starstruck person at all, but it's funny to now walk downtown or to the restaurant, and, when the grocery store people say, I saw you on What's Barking Local, like, holy smokes, you never know what kind of impact you're going to have. I think for me, the best thing, I mean, yes, it's helped my store. Yes, it's brought some people into the store, but it's also strengthened our position as sort of the leader of the community, or as Jerry Miller, my co-host on this show, says, the water cooler of all things pet in Charlottesville. which I think is so funny. Um, the nice thing for me too is, there are a lot of small rescue groups in our town. We have a very large SPCA, but we also have a lot of smaller ones that are doing really good work, and they don't have the advertising budget to let people know what's going on or get help for their animals. So for me to be able to have them on my show, and this show has a reach of 350,000 people in a viewing between
Wow.
my viewership and between when I do my show, it is posted on the I Love Seville network, which has a reach of about 200 miles, from Richmond,
Wow.
Virginia to Harrisonburg, Virginia, and through Charlottesville. So because of this reach, they get a great amount of exposure that they couldn't afford. I mean, they can't buy advertising like that. They can't buy it on the TV. They can't buy it in newspapers. And yes, they have a reach online, but this is an incredibly good service for rescue groups and nonprofits.
Yeah. I think that's so great. And I think the interesting thing is that, a lot of retailers, when they think of doing a live show, they might just think of it very sales minded. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But taking more of like a cause approach probably gets you a lot more viewers and a lot more people seeing it. And you could actually make a larger impact rather than just selling a few extra products. There's more of a purpose behind what you're doing.
Well, I think there's room for both. I mean, right now we're trying to do things like I am horrible with the selfie stick, but I'm learning how to use it in my own store because, especially now with what's going on, I'm doing a FaceTime personalized shopping experience in my store. So I'm learning how
Hmm.
to perfect things like that. But it's nice to do the What's Sparking Local show because I can bring things, I can show still pictures, I can use a little bit of video snippets and promote, what's going on in our store or with our grooming, or especially when we launched our self-serve dog wash, we could show how easy it is and how clean it is and how, simple things like, here's how we get a 150-pound English Bull Mastiff into a dog tub, that kind of thing. Visuals are great for things like that.
Do you have a hard time finding dog mom gear that fits in with the rest of your style? I love my dogs, but I don't want paw prints on everything I own. The Wear Wag Repeat shop is full of artist-designed apparel, handmade accessories for you and your dog, and stylish gifts for the dog obsessed. Best-selling products like our Puppy Breath candle and the Jungle Dog dress have been featured on blogs like Proud Dog Mom and the Daily Dog Tag. Your dog is already spoiled, so treat yourself. Get 15% off your first order when you visit shop.wearwagrepeat.com and use promo code podcast. That's shop.wearwagrepeat.com, promo code podcast. I just saw a stat the other day that video gets like 5 times as many impressions than a still photo does. So video is really powerful. Do you have any advice? I know a lot of people hate putting themselves in front of the camera and they get paralyzed with fear. But you have found a way to be very comfortable in front of the camera. Do you have any recommendations for people?
Well, you just got to get out there and try it. And you don't have to go live on Facebook right away. I mean, just do short videos. Get someone. It's easier if you get someone to film you. I mean, at some points in time, I have to go, and if I'm having someone film me, hey, show me only from the waist up. Show me this. This is what I want to see in the background. Either that. You can do it that way and just practice. I mean, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. It is a little daunting at first, but you just got to pretend you're talking to a customer. Just talk to your people, or talk about what matters, and find things you can talk about that you're comfortable about talking about. It might not be your pet food. It might be, hey, let's talk about my kayak today. Something you really know well that you can get passionate about, and just practice doing that for a while before you go live on Facebook.
Yeah. That's a really great tip to have someone film you, because then you actually are talking to a person. Doing it a selfie by yourself, I always feel a little awkward doing that. So having another person there really helps.
Right. And if you can find a place behind whoever's filming you that where you can have, those big memo pads or something like that, that you use in meetings where you can put a few bullet points. That's helpful. And then keep it really short. I mean, our shows are long on What's Sparking Local. They can be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. And personally, I think that's a little bit too long at times. I mean, you have to remember, what do people really have time to listen to? Right now, they've got time to listen to a whole lot. But, but I mean, during a day, you have to figure out, who's your audience, do your who, what, when, where, why, and, and figure it out. Have a plan. Allow for spontaneity. If somebody walks in the store while I'm doing this, great. I'll like that even more. Get them on screen with you.
Yeah, see what they're coming in to ask you and then answer it right there.
Exactly.
That's really great. I also wanted to ask you about Dogfest Charlottesville. I mentioned in the intro that you organized this event. You have had like 4,000 people show up, partnered with a ton of rescues, ton of dogs showed up to it. Tell us a little bit about that event and why you started doing that.
Well, this started 8 years ago, and it really started with this idea of community. And I thought we started at a little dog park under a picnic shelter. Everybody got a picnic table. We had a few tents, and we just decided, wouldn't it be cool to let's all meet at the dog park and bring some of these resources together. And everybody that has a booth or a table, you need to provide some kind of a game, like bobbing for hot dogs or whatever, that people can do with their dog. And so that's how it started. And it grew steadily every year. After the 5th year, we knew we were super onto something. And so we moved it to an art park that had a brewery and a taco restaurant, and then a nice, bathrooms, a big concrete pad area, and a stage. Bingo. This was a solution to everything. So now you've got a nice dry place and flat place for the tents. We had a stage. We got a local band to play. And this brewery that was there is the one that created our Big Dog Blondale for us. So now we could sell beer and make money, and for the rescue groups to enjoy. And that's how it grew. I mean, it grew from the dog park to last year. We did have over 45 booths, 14 different rescue groups, 110 in the costume contest alone. And boy, that was a chore to judge that thing.
But, I can imagine.
There was so many good costumes. But the downside of it is it is weather dependent. I mean, there was one year where it poured rain the whole time. We still had a big turnout, and we just put everybody on stage. Last year was almost 100 degrees, so we had swimming pools everywhere for the dogs. So you have to be really flexible and have some vision about how you can keep everything safe for everybody.
Yeah, it's a lot to manage, a lot of moving parts, and I think that the key is to go with the flow, because otherwise you will flip yourself out.
I mean, we were lucky. We have such great relationships with our suppliers. I mean, what we did in our tent last year is we actually had 100 feet long of tent, and we took all the treats, all the samples. I mean, every sample that we could get our hands on from 4 different suppliers, and we just laid out the tables. We gave everybody a special shopping bag where we had printed a coupon on there for 10% off when they would come to the store, and they could go down the world's largest treat and sample bar and take things. And that was a great thing for our business, to let people know how many things they had. And boy, did they love getting the free stuff.
Oh, yes. People love free stuff, especially free dog food and free dog
is good. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. There's our like local neighborhood dog shop celebrates their birthday every year, or their anniversary of their store, and they take over the parking lot across the street, and it's kind of similar, and they always have activities, which is what I love. It's my pet peeve is events that are just tables full of pamphlets. I think you need to have some fun stuff for people to do. So they've had like tie-dyeing your own dog bandanas and photo booths and that. So I want to wrap up our conversation by asking you about your current pack of dogs, and how they kind of came into your life.
Well, I tell you what, this is one of the first times in my life that I don't have a dog.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that.
Well, the reason is 2 years ago I went through some big life changes where I found myself single after 30 years and sold a house, moved from a farm into town, and at that time the old dogs that I'd been looking after sort of had expired, and the same with the cats. And it was the first time that I wasn't looking after old dogs, old cats, old horses, and old chickens, and then old parents. And so I just kind of found myself like, wow, I actually have some flexibility and some free time. What am I going to do with it? I see plenty of dogs all day long in our grooming. Our next door neighbors have 2 dogs that we call our dogs. And I did remarry, and my mother-in-law has 8 cats and 4 dogs. So I have plenty of animals in my life, and that seems to be enough for now. I'm just kind of enjoying having a little flexibility for the first time in about 35 years.
Oh yeah, I could totally understand. Yeah. It's a lot of responsibility, and as long as you have plenty of options for contacting dogs. So, yeah. And with your skills, you could probably like telepathically talk to the dog across the street. So there you go.
Yeah. And it gives me an opportunity to, help with rescue groups and just be a part of more things. I feel like I'm really needed in the community to help people. And gosh, right now I don't want anything to tie me back from doing that.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And I think that life goes through different stages and cycles and everything like that. And right now, if you can impact more dogs and cats' lives by not having your own pets, I think that's a really great arrangement.
I'm starting to think that way. I mean, my store dog was an amazing Chesapeake Bay Retriever, and I'm starting to think about puppies. So.
Oh, getting puppy fever. It's dangerous.
It is. It is.
Well, Pattie, thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you, especially in the midst of this crazy week. And I hope everyone enjoys listening to this conversation and kind of gives them a little escape from their social isolation.
Oh, wow. Well, it's what you make it. I mean, for us, we are thankfully staying busy with our delivery and curbside service and virtual shopping options, but it's also giving us some time to do things that we really needed to do, like update a POS system and update grooming software. So, we're busy, but we're being resourcefully busy, and my show is still going on Wednesdays.
Yeah. So tell everyone where they can find you online and where they can find your show.
So our website is Animal Connection VA, like VA for Virginia.com. And that's also our Facebook address is animalconnectionva.com. What's Sparking Local airs live on Facebook every Wednesday at 3:00 on my page and also on the I Love Seville page. And then we have replays available on our page and then as an iTunes podcast.
Okay, great. Well, everyone check that out. Obviously, Pattie has a lot of interesting things to say and to share, and I think everyone would enjoy listening to the show. I watched it a little bit earlier this week to prepare to talk to you, and it's really great.
We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun.
You never know what you're going to see.
Well, thanks so much, Pattie.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's fun.
What did you like most about this episode? Find me on Instagram at TMystic and let me know what intrigued you or what questions you have about starting or growing your own dog-inspired business. You can also screenshot this episode and tag me in your stories. I love to see who is listening out there. Some of the best conversations happen after the episode, right? So track me down over on Instagram or join the Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs Facebook group to connect with other dog-obsessed entrepreneurs. And as always, you can find all the links and resources discussed in this episode at wearwagrepeat.com/podcast. See you back here next week.